Gentleman yields. I now recognize the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Brecheen, for his 5 minutes of testimony, or questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Given a markup that's going on in budget, appreciate your indulgences with me slipping in. Just as my colleague just talked about, just a great loss. Thank you both very much for your courage, given what you've been through. We know that the decisions by Mayorkas, in addition to just this administration's decisions, have caused chaos on our southern border. Just their reluctance to simply enforce congressional law, whether it's parole, detention, deportation. These are all things that Congress set up as a barrier to protect us against the heinous acts that the mothers in this room your families have been the victims of. I want to ask you, Ms. Nobles, in your testimony, you said that the El Salvadorian government had a documented criminal history of your daughter's murderer. Now, we're talking about an illegal alien who sexually assaulted and murdered your daughter. And they were aware of this involvement and that there was an MS-13 gang membership was also associated with this individual. How long after your daughter's death were you made aware of this?
At first, we did not know that it was MS-13 until after the DNA evidence came back, linked him, and then once he was arrested, then we were told it was an MS-13 gang member. And he has like 11 charges against him right now.
And what was the federal agency that provided that information to you?
It was no federal. It took the local detectives to find out that he was MS-13.
And when you were told this, were you given an explanation why DHS, Department of Homeland Security, never checked his body? Tattoos that would bring about, suspicion, or contact the government to ask if he had affiliations or a prior criminal history? Have you had a chance to ask DHS about that failure?
No, DHS and DHS has failed to make a comment or say anything to me about Kayla or anything.
Let me ask you, do you think, Ms. Nobles, that the Secretary is doing everything he can to secure that southern border?
No.
Yeah. I know it comes across as a question that that anyone who's lost what you've lost, you have the utmost right to be heard by the American people. It's one thing to talk about this. It's another thing to be victimized by someone's refusal to enforce what the law of the land is, what congressional law is. If you were able to speak to Secretary Mayorkas, which, my inclination is he probably is paying attention, even though he's refusing to come and be a part with the invitation that our chairman sent him. What would you say to Secretary Mayorkas, and what questions would you ask him? And I'll give you all the time you want. I'm going to end my conclusions there. When you get done, Ms. Nobles, if there's time, Ms. Dunn on the clock up here, I'd love to hear your comments as well. What would you tell the Secretary?
I would ask him, how did you allow a known gang member to be allowed in this country? How can anyone be okay with a known gang member to come into this country and to end up in Maryland? And I also wanted to know what else DHS and DHS is hiding. I was told that her murderer's file is so thick that Jim Jordan only had 2 hours to even look at the file. What else are they hiding about this murderer? I want to know. I mean, I want to know what they're hiding about this murderer. That's why he is being protected, why everything about him is being protected. We haven't even got to trial yet. Her trial is set for June 28th of this year, and they have 4 or 5 thick binders full of a bunch of evidence that we haven't even know yet. We don't even know over half of the stuff that was done to her in that room.
If I'm going to ask you, as a follow-up, I've got 30 seconds left. There's a statement that talks about, I actually quoted this to Mayorkas when he was before this committee. It actually comes out of the Old Testament, or the Torah. where it talks about blood on your hands. If you see destruction coming, talking about a watchman, and you don't cry out, do you think the secretary, based upon him knowing what is happening, letting people come into this country, do you think he has blood on his hands?
Yes, he is responsible for my daughter's death.
Ms. Dunn?
I know that Secretary Mayorkas has 2 daughters, and they're grown adults. And I just don't know how he would feel if it was one of his daughters that he lost to either one of these situations. We talked a little bit today about resources, okay? I have a resource in my purse. It's Narcan. It costs $45 in a pharmacy in Arizona. It's not free. You want to spend some money? You want to spend some of my tax dollars? Give this away for free. Everywhere. Anywhere. Everywhere. That's what you need to spend your money on. I don't want to spend any more money on illegals. I want to save lives.